Tonight, we're here at the Vatican as the world waits and watches for a new pope to be selected. The cardinals are sequestered, the voting begins. I speak with a Canadian cardinal in his last interview before he entered the Sistine Chapel. How you're feeling about the work ahead of you?
We've done the work. Now we have to choose.
What they're weighing inside the conclave.
Here in Canada, police in Nova Scotia scale back the search for two missing children.
The likelihood that they're alive right now is very low.
The difficult news 6 days after siblings Lily and Jack disappeared. After the Oval Office meeting, what happened behind closed doors?
I think the relationship's going to be very strong.
What we've learned about the Prime Minister's private discussions with Donald Trump.
From CBC News, this is The National with Asha Tomlinson and Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault in Rome.
Thanks for joining us. At the Vatican here tonight, the conclave is now underway. The secretive ritual to select the next pope has begun. So this was the scene here late tonight, black smoke billowing from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel. A message to everyone watching here and around the world, including 1.4 billion Catholics, that there is no decision yet. Earlier, 133 cardinals took vows of secrecy before taking their places inside, shut off from the outside world, so their work could begin. Now, 2/3 of those cardinals must now agree on who will lead the Catholic Church. Margaret Evans now with the beginning of this centuries-old process.
The men they call the princes of the church, bathed in the red glow of their robes as they file into the Sistine Chapel, and so the history books. The cardinals tasked at this conclave with choosing the Catholic Church's 267th pope. For many of the faithful gathered in St. Peter's Square, Pope Francis has left big shoes to fill. Yolanda Hermosillo is from Mexico.
If we take another direction, it's going to be, I think, a mess.
Everything comes here together, you know.
Professional Pope watchers say the choice of a new pontiff is inevitably a judgment on the legacy of the old.
Pope Francis left an idea. He left a horizon for the church. He left a direction where he wanted the church to go to. And the big question is, will the cardinals, these 133 men from all over the world, continue this roadmap in a way?
Conservative critics of Pope Francis say he was too liberal, especially on issues including divorce and the blessing of gay couples. Others say he didn't go far enough.
Smoke out sexism!
Especially on the role of women in the church. These campaigners for the ordination of women sending up smoke of their own.
Women are tired of endless study about the question of women in ministry. It can feel like justice deferred. And very heartbreakingly, I think many women are losing hope, losing faith that something will happen soon.
This transition for the Catholic Church takes place at a time when much of the world itself feels in transition, old orders and alliances shifting. And for many here, it makes this choice feel all the more significant.
In a world which is shattered by war, by the turmoil in every part of the war in Pakistan, India, Gaza war.
Yeah, I would definitely like to see someone like Pope Francis. He was such a progressive pope, and really hoping for that given how things are in America now too. Yeah, that'd be great.
And clearly a decision in need of more deliberation. By day's end, the cardinals had taken their first vote, but the smoke coming out of that most watched chimney was black.
So black smoke, Adrian, it is the burning of the ballots. They add things to it that makes it come out black. Obviously, if there was an agreement, they'd add something that would make it turn white. And that's what people will be hoping for tomorrow.
You've covered popes in the past. We've both been here for conclaves and funerals of popes. There's always this huge collective experience. But personally, I was struck by how many people were here tonight. What did you make of that scene?
Yeah, absolutely, because most people know that it's very unlikely that they would reach a decision like this on the first day when there's only one vote. And the anticipation built and by the evening, the crowds were here and impatient. They were clapping. They wanted the Cardinals to hear and to vote.
The collective experience. We'll be back here again tomorrow. We'll see what happens.
See you then.
All right. Canadian Cardinal Michael Cherney is taking part in the conclave. We sat down before he entered the Sistine Chapel, and I asked him how the world has changed since Francis was elected 12 years ago.
So many people have to suffer, apparently, for what is considered normal or important or priorities. It's mad.
We also talked about what he was weighing as he prepared to vote. That conversation is coming up a little bit later. Until then, let's send things back to Asha Tomlinson in Toronto.
Thanks, Adrian. Police in Nova Scotia say they're now scaling back the search for 2 young kids who were reported missing 6 days ago. 6-year-old Lily Sullivan and her 4-year-old brother Jack are believed to have wandered away from their home about 140 kilometers northeast of Halifax in Lansdowne Station. Volunteers and trained searchers are covering the heavily wooded area around it. Still no trace of the children. Hope of finding them alive is fading. Sarah Levitt is in the community as the focus of the search shifts to looking for clues that might have been missed.
Outside this Nova Scotia home, a reminder of the heartbreaking absence. 6-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan missing 6 days now. Their stepfather getting an update from RCMP officers. It's news he says he knew was coming but didn't want to hear. Police are scaling back the search and rescue of the siblings, with hope dwindling.
Based on the experts and the review of the facts, the inclement weather, the time frames, and their age, the likelihood that they're alive right now is very low.
Breaks my heart.
The 2 kids' stepfather says they went missing last Friday, wandering from home while the parents slept in another room. Since, the RCMP has teamed up with a number of agencies, scouring a 4-square-kilometer area around the home on foot and in the air. An area roughly the size of downtown Halifax, but heavily wooded and filled with downed trees. Terrain difficult to navigate for rescuers, let alone children. So far, not a single sign of the kids has been found beyond a small boot print near the house. Still, the RCMP says a smaller search will go on, with the force's major crimes unit continuing to play an active role. They aren't ruling out the possibility of a crime.
We're going to continue pursuing any leads or information that comes in.
Since the kids went missing, their stepfather says he's hardly had any contact with their mother. She took their 1-year-old to stay with her mother after a fight between the families broke out. He says people accuse him of being involved in the children's disappearance. When contacted, the mother and her family only told CBC News police advised them not to speak to media.
I'm absolutely exhausted at this point after going through 6 days of virtual hell. It's absolutely crazy. So I'm just fighting for Lily and Jack.
It's a case that has really captured the attention of this community and beyond, with many holding out hope for a much better conclusion.
When the RCMP says they're scaling back their search, what exactly does that mean?
Well, the first major thing is reducing the amount of resources on the ground, so personnel, but also equipment. The RCMP says it's also zeroing in on specific places they have already searched to ensure nothing was missed, and police say they are considering bringing in cadaver dogs. That's something that people are hoping won't be necessary.
All right, Sarah Levitt in Lansdowne Station, Nova Scotia tonight. Thank you. Tonight, some communities on Newfoundland's Avalon Peninsula are under evacuation due to a number of wildfires.
This is about as bad as it gets, you know, for in a beautiful little place like this. You know, it just
feels very surreal.
This fire in the Conception Bay North area on the southeast coast is out of control, and a local state of emergency is in place. Dry conditions and high winds have quickly spread the flames. There are unconfirmed reports as well. Some homes have been lost. Prime Minister Mark Carney spoke to premiers today about his first face-to-face meeting with Donald Trump. The response from them and the White House so far appears positive. Ashley Burke has more about what happened behind closed doors.
It's a great honor to have Prime Minister Mark Carney.
The review from the White House is in, and it's filled with flattery.
Canada chose a very talented person, a very good person.
Donald Trump releasing a video highlighting his meeting with Mark Carney.
I like him, you know, he's a nice man. We get along very well. We had a great meeting today. Really good. I think the relationship's going to be very strong.
The two leaders friendly in front of the cameras, but they still disagreed on key points, like Trump's tariffs and fixation on Canada becoming America's 51st state.
Never say never. Never say never.
A senior government official says afterwards at a luncheon, Carney was just as clear in private that Canada's sovereignty is not up for debate, a major concern for Canadians.
I thought he handled President Trump very well. I think he was very calm, cool, and collected.
He could have gone in beating his chest saying Canada's not for sale, but I think he took his time and weighed his thoughts.
Hopefully it's a good step forward, but I don't think a lot came out of it.
The official also said behind closed doors, Trump wanted to hear Carney's take on foreign policy issues, asking him question after question, an eagerness and tone different than with Justin Trudeau. The next day, Carney briefed the premiers.
It was a massive step forward that he went down there, and they seemed to be getting along quite well, and he said they were getting along, so I think this is huge compared to the last Prime Minister.
I think today we're in a better position than we were yesterday, though there still are many, many serious challenges, and it is going to take us some time to get to where we need to be.
Carney said behind closed doors he also pressed Trump to lift tariffs on Canada.
We have more work to do on making those cases.
Well, he says Trump agreed to negotiate. It's not clear how and when that could happen.
We want to have an approach that is general, I would say holistic, to negotiating. And so trying to not to fall into the trap of having, lifted a tariff and another one popping up.
The Foreign Affairs Minister says the meeting was really about the Prime Minister building a personal relationship with Trump, since he's the sole decider of what his administration does.
And Ashley, what more do we know about what Carney and Trump said behind closed doors?
Well, Asha, a Canadian government official said that Carney laid out the facts about the tariffs, but in a way that was not confrontational. Trump also notably didn't make any demands, but an official said what Trump wants is success for America, which includes having more manufacturing in the U.S.
Ashley Burke, thank you. In a surprise announcement, Yukon's Premier Ranj Pillai says he's stepping down after a little over 2 years on the job. Pillai intends to stay on until a new leader is selected. He will not seek re-election to the Legislative Assembly. Under Yukon's fixed election date, a vote must be held by November 3rd. A prominent aid group says it has run out of food supplies in Gaza, as local health officials say Israeli attacks have killed at least 92 people over the past 24 hours. While we were at the hall of the restaurant, Israel attacked and everyone died, says this woman as she flees a street market in Gaza City. The strike there alone killing dozens, according to medics. Israel has cut off humanitarian aid for more than 2 months, and World Central Kitchen is now the latest aid organization announcing it has no more food to distribute. There are urgent calls for calm tonight after Indian strikes hit sites in Pakistan and the Pakistan-controlled Kashmir region. South Asia correspondent Salima Shivji shows us the destruction and fears of retaliation.
A burst of explosions overnight, missiles firing into Pakistan and Pakistan-controlled Kashmir. The chaos continued when day broke. Pakistani forces exchanging heavy artillery fire with Indian soldiers, causing panic along the line of control, the contested border in disputed Kashmir. Homes and mosques left shattered and empty. We were asleep, this man says, then we felt so much fear.
These actions were measured, non-escalatory, proportionate, and responsible.
That's how India describes it, precision strikes, only against camps where New Delhi says militants trained, no military installations. Pakistan sees it very differently, as an act of war.
It is India which cowardly attacked Pakistan.
He says more than 24 people died in the strikes. As families of the victims mourn and bury their dead, the angry rhetoric has reached a fever pitch. Pakistan's prime minister says his army shot down several Indian fighter jets, a claim that can't be verified, as he vows to take corresponding action to retaliate. In India, there were cheers for the strikes against a hated neighbor, seen as vengeance for this militant attack last month, the deadliest targeting civilians in years in Indian-controlled Kashmir, the divided region that India and Pakistan have been fighting over for decades.
The international community is speaking with one voice on this. The U.S., China, the United Nations, and others all urging calm, hoping that the two nuclear-armed countries will dial down the tension.
But the fear of more violence is real, with each side wanting to project strength. Experts say Pakistan can't not retaliate.
Is there a neutral international arbiter strong enough which can control and stop these two countries?
With the world distracted and multilateralism weak, as those in Kashmir along the line of control pack up and flee, bracing for more strikes. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Mumbai.
In London, Ontario, the woman who has accused 5 World Junior hockey players of sexual assault again faced cross-examination. A defense lawyer suggesting her behavior that night might have led to the players to assume she was consenting. Katie Nicholson was in the courtroom, and a warning: some of the details are disturbing.
Former World Junior hockey goalie Carter Hart enters the courthouse, flanked by his defense lawyer, Megan Savard. Hart is among the 5 hockey players charged with sexually assaulting a woman known as EM in a London hotel room in June of 2018. They have all pleaded not guilty. EM previously testified after she met Michael McLeod at Jack's Pub. The two went to his hotel and had sex. That act is not the focus of the case. She told the court she was surprised when other men entered the room afterwards. In previous testimony, she described how they placed a bedsheet on the floor and solicited sexual acts from her. Savard prompted EM, "One of your coping mechanisms on this unusual night may have been offering sex." EM replied, "I was not acting like myself." "You were acting like a porn star," Savard asked. "Yes, I feel that was the thing they wanted. They were trying to recreate a porn scene," EM replied. Savard suggested, "Another way you adopted the persona of a porn star, you were offering certain sexual services." "I don't have any memory of that," EM said. "It could be possible."
It really has to do with whether or not there's a reasonable doubt being raised as to her consent.
Sam Puhala is a criminal defense attorney based in London. She isn't involved in the case but has been following the trial closely.
The central issue, again, in this whole trial, in my view, is really the credibility and the reliability of EM. So the complainant's credibility and reliability is central to any sexual assault trial, and that applies here as well.
Savard also pressed EM on how she initially misidentified 2 men as suspects. EM agreed she had trouble distinguishing the players, saying a lot of them look alike. Savard continued to push EM on this point. EM said it had been a long day. She felt flustered and broke down in tears, ending the proceedings. She still has to face cross-examination from the 3 remaining defense teams. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, London, Ontario.
A CBC News investigation tracks down an Ontario man behind a controversial porn site.
We've been trying to talk to you for weeks about Mr. Deepfakes and your role in it.
The push to make these types of sites illegal in Canada. Multiple school boards are warning parents their personal information may have been stolen.
It feels like a really powerless situation for us.
Why paying off the hackers didn't end the threat. And an accidental order of 70,000 lollipops.
Liam came back and screamed, "Mom, Mom, my suckers are here, my suckers are here."
We're back in 2. Former U.S. President Joe Biden sat for an interview with BBC and, without mentioning Donald Trump by name, criticized his words and deeds as beneath America.
We talk about now that, well, it's just the Gulf of America. Maybe we're going to have to take back Panama. Maybe we need to acquire Greenland. Maybe Canada should be. What the hell's going on here? What president ever talks like that?
Biden said he was gravely concerned about the possible breakdown of the NATO alliance under Trump and admitted that fast-moving events made it difficult to abandon his bid for the presidency until very late in the race. Canada's largest school board has received a ransom demand over student data that was stolen last December, and it's not alone. Despite a ransom being paid at the time, hackers have made it clear the data was not deleted. As Alexander Silberman reports, that has a lot of parents worried.
I think this whole situation is very disheartening.
Laura Davies is worried about the privacy of her children's records. The software used by her Saskatoon area school board was hacked late last year. And months later, personal data is still at risk of getting released.
At this point, as parents, what can we do? Like, it feels like a really powerless situation for us.
PowerSchool, an application used across North America, is now telling school boards it paid a ransom after December's hack in an attempt to get the compromised data deleted. The stolen information includes addresses, medical details, and grades, and in some cases, social insurance numbers of school staff. Now, some school boards say hackers are threatening to release the stolen data unless a ransom is paid.
The victim of the ransomware attack is negotiating with criminals.
This cybersecurity expert warns paying ransom incentivizes further attacks and says the breach is an important reminder of the need to better protect information.
Cyber threat actors see that they have important and valuable data.
In a letter to parents, the Toronto District School Board said its stolen data was never destroyed. The board is one of several across North America hackers are now trying to extort.
What's likely playing out now is that all of these school boards and schools are being targeted, and so the impact just ripples. It grows from there. This is not a singular event. This is a mass event.
It is very worrisome, and it also raises the question, how much do we really want to kind of share going forward?
That's something cybersecurity experts recommend too. Think carefully about what information you share and with who. They also recommend anyone affected by this breach should sign up for credit monitoring. Alexander Silberman, CBC News, Regina.
India's decision to strike Pakistan is increasing concerns that conflict could soon worsen.
We will pursue them to the ends of the earth.
The latest escalations and the long-standing tensions.
And here in Rome, my conversation with a Canadian cardinal who will help choose the next pope.
What a different world we're electing this pope than when Pope Francis was elected.
What he had to say in his last interview before entering conclave. The National breaks down the story shaping our world. Next.
The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration says it is taking immediate steps to upgrade technology and improve staffing levels after hundreds of flights were disrupted at Newark International Airport, one of the country's largest travel hubs. The agency also plans to announce a broader multi-billion-dollar plan Thursday to upgrade the nation's air traffic control system. An Ontario pharmacist has been exposed as a key operator of one of the world's most notorious AI-generated porn sites. Mr. Deepfakes is a website shrouded in secrecy and recently shut down. Eric Cito now on what a CBC investigation has uncovered.
David, can I talk to you right now? I'm going to report to News.
That's David Doe. He's a pharmacist working in the Greater Toronto area.
We've been trying to talk to you for weeks about Mr. Deepfakes and your role in it.
Mr. Deepfakes is the most notorious non-consensual deepfake porn site in the world. And our investigation has revealed that David Doe is a key person behind it.
We just want to talk to you about why you do it.
Deepfake porn puts the faces of real people into sexually explicit scenes. And Mr. Deepfakes hosted almost 70,000 videos that were viewed more than 2.2 billion times. Many of them featuring famous people like Emma Watson, Scarlett Johansson, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but also normal people like Sarah Zed, a Canadian YouTuber.
Every time it is being used on some really big name celebrity like Taylor Swift, it emboldens people to use it on much smaller, much more niche, more private individuals like me.
And for a few $100s, users on the site could custom order videos of anyone, some of them violent. But those videos are now gone. The site was shut down following repeated requests for interviews to David Doe from CBC News and its international partners Bellingcat and Danish outlets Jekta and Politiken. Our investigation traced usernames and IP addresses associated with Mr. Deepfakes dating back years. And those digital clues led to one name, David Doe. We tried repeatedly to get comment from Doe. He didn't respond, so we tracked him down in person.
All these people we talk to say they're humiliated, they're victimized.
Sharing deepfake porn of adults is illegal in Australia, South Korea, and the UK. In Canada, no federal legislation. But that could soon change.
We will make producing and distributing non-consensual sexual deepfakes a criminal offense.
Doe's employer, Oak Valley Health, and the Ontario College of Pharmacists tell CBC they are deeply concerned about these allegations and are investigating. Eric Cito, CBC News, Toronto.
Just behind me is the Vatican, where cardinals are now sequestered for a historic vote that will resound around the world.
Extra omnes.
With the conclave to choose the next pope now underway, we break down the hit movie that brought the secret ritual to the screen.
It's a movie that takes Catholicism seriously.
It got some things right.
This is highly choreographed.
And some things very wrong.
That's absolutely forbidden.
But first, that is Canadian Cardinal Michael Cherney taking an oath of secrecy moments before the conclave began. Cardinal Cherney is one of 4 Canadians now voting for the next pope. We sat down for his last conversation before entering the Sistine Chapel.
This is your first conclave.
It is.
And I wonder how you're feeling about the work ahead of you, the choice ahead of you.
I wouldn't call it work. We've done the work. Now we have to choose. But it's not, the work was these last 10 days or so of listening and reflecting and praying and also grieving, like coming to grips with the fact that Pope Francis is with us, but in another way. And dealing with our sorrow, gratitude, hopes. But now all this translates into a vote, yes, right.
And are those discussions helpful for you in determining how you'll make a decision?
Now, if you had done the interview 10 days ago, I would have been completely at sea, whereas now I'm cool.
Have you determined what it is you'll be weighing in terms of making a choice?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's hard to explain. It's a spiritual experience. It's also a very human experience. It's, yes, it's based on listening, on dialogue, on exchange, but also on intuition, memories, hopes. It all comes together. And now it gets expressed silently by voting.
As I understand it, you were working at the last conclave, but not in the last conclave.
That's right. That's right.
The world has changed a bit in the time since.
Not a bit.
A lot.
A lot.
Okay.
I was reflecting on that. I was reflecting that what a different world we're electing this Pope than when Pope Francis was elected.
I'm not sure that the changes you're thinking about, but as you speak, I think of war with Russia and Ukraine. I think of the war in Gaza. I think of a U.S. president who is severely cutting foreign aid. What's your sense of how that plays into a decision?
Well, it's hard to put in words because it's not a political decision. And so, yes, the challenges of, let's say, a war or climate change or migration are part of who we are and what we're looking forward to facing. But this is not like a convention, a political convention. We're not choosing a party leader.
How do you feel about the world right now?
I would say that what makes me saddest is how much suffering there is. So many people have to suffer, apparently, for what is considered normal or important or priorities. It's mad and it's sad. It's very sad.
For those of us on the outside and looking at what Pope Francis accomplished, his priority on the treatment of migrants, certainly his focus on Indigenous populations and reconciliation, that apology he delivered in Canada. As you have the discussions, do you have a sense that those priorities may continue to be priorities for the Church?
That's not a question I can answer. the things that Pope Francis did are part of the mix of our reflection. So his achievements, his challenges, his gifts, his shortcomings are all part of a mix, but we're going forward. We're not worrying about, are we going to somehow maintain or improve or cast aside the heritage of Pope Francis. We never do that. All of the popes carry the whole history with them, and there's always change, but there's also continuity. We really hope we will continue to have a good effect, and we're impressed with the good effect that Pope Francis has had. But the responsibility for getting this world back on track is with governments, with politicians, with opinion leaders, with business people, and we go along to try to help them. But don't look to us to solve the problems that society seems very reluctant or incapable of solving. Those have to be faced by society.
Is there anything that you think people in Canada should be thinking about as they think in the next few days?
We need to learn to take hold of our problems together. And religion, other religions need to make their contribution. But it's a problem of citizens, it's a problem of societies. I mean, most of the problems we have are a lack of governance, a lack of a capacity to handle our problems. It's not good. It's not good at all. No. So, if Canadians are watching, I hope that they're happy with the results of the election, and that now we're going to get on with the business of taking good care of Canada and making a good contribution of peace and justice in the world. That would make me very happy.
Okay, that election is done. A new selection begins.
Very good.
Cardinal Czerny, thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Now to the big screen thriller that tackled this very subject. Conclave brought Catholic ritual to a wide audience. Nisha Patel asked some experts to tell us where the film got it right.
The Roman Catholic Church is about to choose a new leader. It's an ancient tradition that was brought to life on the big screen just 6 months ago. The conclave film is timely, of course, but is it accurate?
The Pope is dead. The throne is vacant.
The conclave begins now.
It's a movie that takes Catholicism seriously and tries to understand it.
For historical theology professor Massimo Fagioli, conclave settings feel realistic.
The Vatican, St. Peter's Square, those palaces, they were built exactly on purpose in the 15th, 16th century, 17th century to be a stage.
Vatican expert Reverend Thomas Rees also says the film does a good job showing the highly secretive voting process.
Each cardinal writing the name of the person he wants to vote for on a very small piece of paper, and then putting it onto a plate and then tipping the plate into this urn. This is highly choreographed, and the movie got it right.
When the voting ballots are burned, the film shows black smoke when no one has been elected and white smoke when the church has a new pope. Those smoke signals are also used in real life.
In the film, a pope is chosen quite quickly. Does that happen usually?
Since 1831, all conclaves have lasted no more than 4 or 5 days.
The term conclave comes from the Latin word meaning room with a key, so the cardinals really do get locked inside, and they're not allowed to use phones or watch television.
They are sequestered, and they must be shielded from all news that may influence their judgment. You understand?
That's where the film really does start to go wrong. The central character, Cardinal Lawrence, gets outside information. In the real world, that would violate the rules of conclave. From there, the screenwriters take even more artistic license.
Where did you get this?
Cardinal Lawrence routinely breaks church law, busting into the Pope's personal chambers.
Would you like me to hear your confession?
And revealing to another cardinal what was told to him in the confessional.
That's absolutely forbidden. That's a major sin. He would be excommunicated for doing that.
Cardinals do campaign to become pope.
This is a conclave, it's not a war.
It is a war.
In reality, though, the political maneuvering is done more quietly than what's shown on screen.
Cardinals tend to speak with language that is more diplomatic, is more in code. You don't need to talk too much to send a certain message.
What was the biggest mistake in the movie?
A cardinal who's secretly appointed by the dead pope cannot enter the conclave.
He was never on our list. He has to be an imposter.
You have to be proclaimed, announced by the pope in the presence of the other cardinals. The answer should have been, no, you don't get in.
The reasons would become clear soon enough.
The movie ends with a dramatic shift for a deeply traditional organization, though in life, Conclave will carry even more weight for the 1.4 billion Catholics around the world, choosing not just the next pope, but the future of the church.
And we will be here every step of the way. I'll see you in just a few hours when the voting here in Rome continues. We'll be live on CBC News Network and wherever you stream CBC News. Until then, it's back to Asha in Toronto.
Thanks, Adrian. International leaders are pushing for peace after an escalation of tensions between India and Pakistan. The decades of conflict that have led to this moment. Tension escalates between two nuclear-armed neighbors after India's deadly strikes inside Pakistan and the disputed Kashmir region. And now these two military powers could be on the brink of a full-scale war again.
These actions were measured, non-escalatory. It is India which cowardly attacked Pakistan.
South Asia correspondent Salima Shivji breaks down how we got here.
These are the gunshots that shattered the fragile peace between India and Pakistan, ramping up war rhetoric for 2 solid weeks, a targeted militant attack on tourists visiting the stunning hills of contested Kashmir. An attack that left the families of 26 men broken with grief. This newlywed was on her honeymoon when she watched her 26-year-old groom gunned down.
Kashmir is used to violence. It's disputed land ever since partition in 1947, when British India was split into India and Pakistan. The two countries have been fighting over the region in the Himalayas for nearly 80 years now. Both countries claim Kashmir in its entirety, but only control parts of it. And there have been decades of armed separatist insurgency on the Indian-controlled side. Kashmir is one of the world's most militarized areas. But this type of attack is unusual, the deadliest against civilians in nearly 2 decades. And the chilling details have angered many Indians.
Accounts from survivors, mostly women mourning their husbands, show how the gunmen operated. There were 6 to 7 men with us, says Sheetal Kalatia. The attackers shot all of them. They took Hindus to one side and killed them. I couldn't save my husband. The fact that Hindu men were seemingly singled out in Muslim-majority Kashmir prompted visceral anger across India, which is predominantly Hindu, and many setting fire to the Pakistan flag were pushing India to fight back and bomb their neighbor.
See, India blames the attack on Pakistan, which New Delhi claims has what it calls linkages to the massacre, a charge Islamabad denies.
In the days following the attack, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi chose to speak in English for this message.
I say to the whole world, India will identify, track, and punish every terrorist. We will pursue them to the ends of the earth.
Modi gave India's armed forces leave to retaliate however they saw fit. Cut to Pakistan, where officials were certain that a military attack from India was imminent.
We are ready and we are prepared to take on all sorts of challenges.
The escalation happened slowly but surely. Day by day, more threats of retaliation. So much so that students in Kashmir were getting crash courses in first aid and on how to stay safe if under attack.
Each side was also flexing their military might as a warning. India released these images of its Navy firing missiles to show it's combat ready. Not to be outdone, Pakistan's army chief staged his own show of force, watching as his troops held extensive training exercises in the country's northeast and leading them in patriotic chants.
India shut the main border crossing between the two countries. Both countries closed their airspace. But there's another more potent weapon that New Delhi is using: water. It has suspended a crucial treaty that regulates how river water is shared across their contentious border. Pakistan downstream desperately needs the water for most of its agricultural output and a third of its hydropower. A big escalation. The treaty has not been messed with, even during the 3 previous wars India and Pakistan have fought.
Any attempt to stop or divert the flow of water belonging to Pakistan will be considered as an act of war.
To be clear, the treaty is only on hold and there's no effect yet. India doesn't currently have the capacity to divert rivers nor the infrastructure to store massive amounts of water to deprive Pakistan downstream. What the move has done is provoke fear and uncertainty.
Especially after these comments from Modi. India's water used to go outside, he says. Now it will flow for India. It will be stopped here, used here. That caused panic among farmers in Pakistan who rely on water from the Indus River. If they stop the water, our whole country will become a desert, this man says. Nothing is possible without it. All of this pushed the tensions to a breaking point, and then the inevitable happened. Military strikes in Pakistan and in Pakistan-controlled Kashmir. Calculated and precise, New Delhi says, targeting camps where militants trained.
These actions were measured, non-escalatory, proportionate, and responsible.
Cowardly and unprovoked, Islamabad says.
Pakistan only responded in self-defense. It is India which cowardly attacked Pakistan.
Pakistan says more than 24 people were killed, including children, with homes and mosques flattened and heavy artillery gunfire exchanged along the line of control, the contentious and heavily fortified border between Pakistan and India. The last time these deep-seated tensions flared up in 2019 was after a terrorist attack in Indian-controlled Kashmir that killed 40 soldiers. India retaliated with airstrikes deep in Pakistan, but that crisis fizzled quickly.
This time, both militaries are much more powerful, and the world is different, more insular, with the United States perhaps not as willing to play mediator. Still, the international community is united in pleading for calm and de-escalation.
They've been fighting for a long time. They've been fighting for many, many decades. No, I just hope it ends very quickly.
A hope that many are clinging to, that this military conflict between 2 nuclear powers and sworn enemies, India and Pakistan, can still be contained.
I think the two sides are quite clear about what to do and what not to do, how much to escalate, how much not to escalate. There is no nuclear conversation happening.
That fact does little to soothe the fear and alienation permeating in Kashmir, with the threat of more violence ever present.
Now, given the situation could deteriorate rapidly, Ottawa issued a new travel advisory today, urging Canadians to exercise a high degree of caution when traveling in both countries and avoid travel within the affected areas. Up next, a surprise delivery for a Kentucky mom.
I opened my bank account and I was in the red, and I was like, oh my God, what is it?
It is a cautionary tale for parents with a sweet ending. Next. That is Holly LaFavors from Kentucky and her 8-year-old son, Liam, who ordered up a bittersweet surprise this week after getting a hold of her phone. That surprise ended up being 70,000 lollipops worth more than $4,000. Tonight, the Hall of Unwanted Candy makes our moment.
We were getting ready for church, and something just told me to check your bank account. I opened my bank account and I was in the red, and I was like, oh my God, what is it? So that's when I looked and I saw the $4,200 charge to Amazon. And then Liam walked outside to ride his scooter and came back in screaming, "Mom, Mom, my suckers are here, my suckers are here." And when I walked out the door and there were 22 boxes of suckers sitting there, sheer hysterical. Like, I was so panicked. I argued with Amazon customer service for the majority of the day. My sisters were like, "You are gonna have to do something. You just need to go ahead and post these online and start selling them." The people in Somerset just immediately showed up. It was a relief. I mean, they were still there and my bank account was still in the hole, but it was a relief to know that there was a possible ending to this. He has never done anything like this. He knows that there are very concrete rules, and a concrete rule is you add to cart. You do not hit the purchase now button. So I have no idea how this happened.
Okay, my mom hack, no add to cart, no nothing. My 7-year-old would do something like this, but you know what? He doesn't have the password to my phone, so that's how I could get out of that. But in the end, Holly did get her money back from Amazon, and the bright side is she's probably covered for Halloween for the next decade? From all of us at The National, thank you for being with us. You can watch anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to The National's YouTube channel. I'm Asha Tomlinson. Take care.